Jason Turbow, welcome back to the Baseball Bookshelf Conversations.
Good to be here, Ron. Thanks for having me on.
So we're talking today again in your capacity as president, founder, head, whatever title you have for the Pandemic Baseball Book Club.
Yeah,
Which,
we haven't made business cards yet. Sorry, I don't actually have a title, but that sums it up okay.
did you think you'd still be in business at this point?
Yeah, long-term planning has not really been a cornerstone of this organization. We started on an ad hoc basis in response to the pandemic, wiping all our baseball book promotional appearances off the calendar. It was me and a handful of other baseball authors who had new books out. We started doing things online, and before you knew it, the ball just kind of rolled downhill and took on a life of its own. And when we got around to season 2, which is this year, and the pandemic was still here, we didn't really see a reason to stop. I think in the interim, what's happened is we've really seen an unexpected amount of value in collecting baseball authors together and offering kind of a mutual system of support. We do, as you know, we do one-on-one interviews, one author interviewing another author about his or her book. And we've done that throughout the season. In that way, our authors get to talk not only about their own books, but get to put their names out there on an additional level as the interviewer. We do tons of separate content and panel discussions and things like that. So yeah, I think it's a really long way to answer your question. But yeah, I think we are going to stick around, especially since we've established relationships with Sabre. We're now an official community under the Sabre umbrella. We've established relationship with Baseball Prospectus. They've published a bunch of excerpts and original material. We have a lot of interesting things going on for our authors that I think makes it really appealing. And I say that as an author myself, right? I want ways to promote my book that aren't so obvious. Having published 3 books with big major publishing houses, I know as well as anybody that in-house marketing only goes so far. Every in-house publicist has a slate of clients, one of which is you. If you're lucky, they do something for you. If you're not, they don't do very much. But even the good ones are very limited in their capacities. So we're really trying to get each other's names out there as much as possible. And I think in that regard, it's been kind of a rousing success.
What do you do last year? How did you go about gathering the authors?
It started off really just kind of word of mouth. It began with me and Brad Balukjian, author of The Wax Pack. We literally had a mutual appearance slated for the East Bay, where we both live in the Bay Area, that was canceled. And I had another appearance slated with Eric Nussbaum, author of Stealing Home, which we set up because they're both Dodgers books. My book, They Bled Blue, is about the 1981 Dodgers. His book is about the kind of history behind Dodger Stadium. When the pandemic eliminated those appearances, we just wanted to take them online. And before you knew it, we had a lot of people kind of asking in, like, how can we join in this thing that is not really even in full existence yet? And we ended up with more than 20 authors, from very high profile people like Tyler Kepner and Jared Diamond, down to people who had self-published their own books. And I think that array really lends some good depth to us.
It's interesting the way you describe it. So what are the, for lack of a better word, requirements for authors to join the Pandemic Baseball Book Club?
The lone requirement, at least so far, is that you have to have a new baseball book out. We don't have the capacity to look backward very much. It's all we can do. It's an all volunteer effort to kind of coordinate the conversations we're having among the current baseball book crowd. And of course, we don't have the bandwidth to handle every single self-published baseball book or small market press baseball book, but we do whatever we can for whoever we can, and it's worked pretty well.
As you grow, I imagine you have more and more authors who want to jump on board.
Yeah, we absolutely do. I mean, people are now asking in almost as a matter of course, and we have tried to bring into the fold everybody we can. I mean, sometimes, like I said, the bandwidth is only so wide. We can't take everybody, but the conversations we've had about a really wide array of books has been has been gratifying. You know, we've got a lot of kind of collegiate presses, and up to up to the big five publishing houses.
The current, you put out a weekly newsletter, and I'm just looking it up right now. The current book is with, and I hope I'm pronouncing the name right, E. Ethelbert Miller, who has actually written
Indeed.
a book of baseball poems, which is not something you come across too often.
Right. And this is one thing I really love about the direction this club, I won't even say has taken, the direction it continues to take, is we're figuring out a way to get new voices into our group within the construct of you got to have a new baseball book out. And it really illustrates the power of the collective. Like I didn't know much about uh, Ethelbert's work. I'm not a poetry buff, but one of our authors, Tim Wendell, who wrote Escape from Castro's Cuba, a novel that came out this year, an excellent novel, by the way, University of Nebraska Press. He knew Ethelbert, and he said, "I got a great guy for our group," and he brought him in, and it's been an amazing addition. They've both been super active, among numerous authors who have been very active. And I think Tim is about to bring a second poet into the fold, and suddenly we're going to have a poetry wing of the Pandemic Baseball Book Club. And okay, what do we make of that? It's great. Like I don't know where it's going, but I don't know where any of this is going. So let's see.
Well, that's one of the nice things I find about the book club is that it is so varied. I mean, as you say, baseball poems certainly not my forte, and I don't know where they land on the height chart, shall we say, of baseball fiction. You have baseball nonfiction. You have things that kind of don't fall into either category, such as poetry. So I think it's very admirable that you do give a voice to some of these authors who might not have a voice otherwise. Because, like you say, a lot of these books are published by companies that don't have the excuse me, the manpower of promoting all this stuff. And I imagine some of these books are published by very small houses where it's even more constrictive as far as getting the word out.
That's true. And I will say, in terms of kind of the big tent philosophy, in the next probably week or two, we're going to be debuting our first romance novel, which I find very exciting as someone who has never in my life read a romance novel. But it is a baseball romance novel, and more than that, it's a gay baseball romance novel. So we're setting up some hopefully very interesting conversations around that topic.
It's interesting you say that particular genre because, as some of the people who follow the blog know, I put out a list every week of the top 10 baseball sellers according to Amazon.com. And two of the things that I do not include are romance novels and and books for kids because there's just so much of that stuff. When I do a search, there's so many of those baseball novels, romantic, that pop up that I don't know how much of the content, which is always a problem I have, is how much content, baseball content, is in the book for it to qualify for my very subjective list.
Yeah, well, this romance novel by an author named Katie Casey has a hunky, romance novel picture of a guy on the cover, but he's a baseball guy, and he
Uh,
looks just like Brad Ausmus. And I don't think it's actually. She told me it's not modeled on Brad Ausmus, but I'm convinced that it is. But there's baseball all throughout this. It's not even a question. This is definitely a baseball book.
let's look at next year. Well, what do you see for next year? I mean, hopefully we'll be farther away from this whole mess. Uh, I think the Pandemic Baseball Book Club is a fantastic organization. I wonder as we get back to normal, I imagine you'll still have authors who really want to be involved with you guys.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we have seen the utility. Like I say, the pandemic could end today, and God willing, it will end soon, and people will come around on the vaccine train. Um, But even once society returns to normal or something approaching it, I think we still have a very solid place in this ecosystem. And additionally, there's been lots of talk about perhaps more in-person appearances. Not necessarily a roadshow, because this is all self-financed. Although sponsorships welcome. bbbclub.com, email address found there.
We can get some very nice shirts and other merch from the
Yeah, look at that.
There we
For
go.
sure.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I don't wear this every single day, but I definitely wore it for you, Ron. But that is a sweet mug. I use mine all the time. There is utility in gathering a collection of writers together on a stage, who happen to be in the same area. There's a bunch of us in the Bay Area. There's a bunch of writers in New York. There are lots of different events that could happen in person. So I don't see any reason that this could or should, cease to be. Quite to the contrary, I think it will hopefully continue to grow bigger and bigger.
So what else do you have picked in mind in your mind's eye for expanding the book club? Sorry.
Well, I mean, every year we enlist a new batch of authors. There's going to be a whole new slate of baseball books out next year, but that doesn't mean that this year's authors are going away or that last year's authors are going away. So, now we've got upwards of 50 members. Next year we'll have probably upward of 70 or 80 members. And suddenly it's quite a considerable community. And, as I tell everybody when I talk to them about this, is that the authors, on our first conversation, it is what you put into it. And the more you're able to put into it, the more we can all get out of it. And a lot of authors have stepped up in very creative and generous ways, which has helped all of our bottom lines. And hopefully next year's batch will be the same.
Do you get any kind of feedback from the publishers themselves? I mean, I'm sure this is a big boon to them because you're doing a lot of the work yourself that, as you say, they should be doing.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. I mean, we're in our second year now, and because it's a learning process, I've developed some relationships with publishers directly this year that we didn't have last year, which is how we came to give away every title released by the University of Nebraska Press, for example. In one Twitter giveaway, and we gave away every title released by Rowman and Littlefield in another Twitter giveaway. And the people within those houses have been very receptive to seeing what they might do with us to augment our goal, which is really to augment their bottom line. I mean, we don't charge anything for this. The whole goal in starting it was just to sell more books for our authors, myself included. Right? So it's not totally magnanimous, but we're not charging fees to our authors or to the publishing houses. But potential sponsorships are on the table, and initiatives that don't yet exist and that I haven't yet conceived. So who knows where this is going to go?
So here's a bit of a sensitive question. Do you have any sort of vetting process? I mean, are there some books that or authors that you've turned down for their attempts to join the club?
We have turned people down, but not for a vetting process so much as a lack of bandwidth. There is a little bit of a hierarchy. If a major market author wants to join, he or she is going to join. And pretty much all the way down to the big university presses. When it gets smaller than that, we can really only absorb so many people. So it's at that point, it's mostly first come, first served. Whether we reach out to them or they reach out to us, once we kind of hit max capacity, that's where we're at.
So in order to promote your site, you're wearing your pandemic shirt. I have my pandemic mug. What other fun things do you have available on your site for purchase?
Oh man, yeah. There's t-shirts. There's the 3/4 sleeve baseball shirts. There's the hoodies. There's the onesies. There's the mugs. There's the stickers. I mean, it's a threadless shop. So one of our original members, Anika Orak, author of, hold on a moment, author of The Incredible Women of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, and the illustrator behind it drew this logo. She set up the shop. The gear really does look good, as you've seen, and it's high quality stuff. We also sell all of our members' books through our own bookshop.org page, and I think that's worth pointing out. One of our initial mandates as a club was to support independent bookshops as much as possible, especially during the pandemic. They needed all the help they could get, which is why I don't think you will find a single Amazon link anywhere on the site. It's all either bookshop.org, which goes directly to supporting indie bookshops, or or actual links to a specific shop in a given city, if there's reason to do that. So supporting the indie shops has been very important. You can do that directly through our site as well.
Do you put together the book, the newsletter, which is available on the site? And I really encourage everybody to sign up for that. It's a very good source.
Yeah, that's this year it's been all me. Last year I had some other help. But it has been fun. I mean, it's a way to interact with these authors on a daily basis. Every newsletter, at least to this point, features a written Q&A with another author. It's got links to the interviews we have up on video and on audio. It's got a bunch of extra bonus content about what authors have been doing outside of their book promotion, inside of their book promotion, appearances they're making. Good, interesting stuff if you're into the world of baseball books. And of course, it's all free. So go on down to pbbclub.com and you can sign up there.
I imagine you also have a presence on social media.
Yeah, we've got a Twitter account that you can search. It's Pandemic Baseball is actually too long of a Twitter handle. They wouldn't accept it. So it's Pandemic Baseball and the number 1.
Oh, is there someone who's using it with the number 2?
Well, one looks like an L, and it's as close as I could figure out in the spur of the moment.
Mm-hmm. Hi, we've been talking with Jason Turbow, who is director, president, founder, king of the Pandemic Baseball Book Club. Jason, if necessity is the mother of invention, we've shown how necessary the Pandemic Baseball Book Club is, and we wish you continued success.
Thank you. Well, Ron, you've been doing this kind of work for far longer than I have, so I've definitely appreciated what you've done in this realm for a very long time. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Jason. Stay safe.
You too.